Then enter Kenobi. Upon getting word of the invasion of Coruscant, they would race across the galaxy and drop into space battle, making their way to Grievous's flagship, the Invisible Hand. The fight would see the death of the Count, shocking news to Grievous, who had been under his thumb since even before the war broke out, always keeping him just one step away from being the true leader of the Separatists. To make this promotion even better, he was able to trap the Republic scum in a ray shield before they could escape. With the Jedi put in restraints, he could have had them both executed, but the rapid succession of victories over these longtime enemies was too exhilarating to cut short. He gloats, but Anakin is sure to get a jab in at the cyborg, whom he had heard so much about from his Padawan and master, but never actually faced himself.
General Grievous, you're shorter than I expected.
And though he didn't plan on fighting them just now, more likely to keep them and have them tortured, he would help himself to two of the most elusive trophies in the galaxy.
Your lightsabers will make a fine addition to my collection.
But just then, that pesky droid that Grievous had once captured for intel was going haywire. And this distraction allowed these Jedi to use their unfair advantage known as the Force to pull their blades into their hands and free themselves. Grievous knows that there was no winning this fight between the two greatest swordsmen in the Order, and he hopes the Magna Guards could hold them back. But when these droids are sliced to scrap, the general doesn't even try to fight. Instead of beating them with saber skills, he would exploit the weaknesses of their organic bodies, hurling an electro staff through the transparasteel and sucking himself into space. The humans would desperately hold on while the emergency bridge protection activated, while Grievous scaled the exterior of the Providence to find an escape pod. With Dooku dead, he was the sole leader of the CIS, and he was fine with losing the hostage Chancellor, confident the war had hit critical mass and Republic defeat was just moments away. After some hours, Palpatine was safely back in his office, and Grievous had received word from the true master Darth Sidious, officially making Grievous the leader of the CIS and telling him that he was to convene with the other Separatist founding members to explain their next move. Arriving on Utapau via Sheathipede shuttle, he embraces this long-awaited moment. He was truly head of the largest military force in the galaxy, the greatest of warlords, and was now able to lord over even the Mune bankers and sniveling Viceroy Newt Gunray. Triumphantly, he would give Darth Sidious his instructions for what promised to be the final moments of this 3-year-long war.
I am sending you to the Mustafar system in the Outer Rim.
But the incompetent Imordian tested Grievous's new authority, only to be quickly put in his place.
Without Count Dooku, I have doubts about your ability to keep us safe.
Be thankful, Viceroy. You have not found yourself in my grip.
With the CIS representatives dismissed, the general turned to gather his troops, when the Jedi Nemesis reappeared.
Hello there.
General Kenobi! You are a bold one.
Grievous calmly steps back to allow his IG-100s to soften him up. When the Force wielder uses tricks, the general calls his troops off and says he will slay the Jedi himself.
I've been trained in your Jedi arts by Count Dooku.
But using his greatest weapon of fear was a bit harder with that crush from Mace Windu, struggling to breathe as he prepares for combat. He would open with the intimidating spinning blade move that had earned him so many trophies over this war, but the expert swordsman was able to use a single blade to find the perfect spot to penetrate, stopping the helicopter spins and using a combination of acrobatics and accuracy to evade the whirlwind of blades, as the human tried to honor all of the Jedi slain by this monster. With complete focus, Kenobi would slice off one hand, survive the flurry of the cyborg-powered blows long enough to find another opening, and bring Grievous down to just 2 hands. The general was enraged, but as they face off for another flurry, clone troopers were heard shouting in the distance. The Battle of Utapau had begun, and clone troopers were pouring in from every direction. Droid starfighters would rush to try and intercept the LA-AT gunships, while battle droids were blasting into the Republic invaders. Despite losing 2 hands, Grievous was still trying to intimidate the Jedi.
You must realize you are doomed.
Grievous's lack of force abilities left him open to a powerful push that sent him crashing into the machinery above, causing him to lose his lightsabers and fall down to the level below. Landing on all 4s, he scurries away like a bug to his Smooth 6 wheelbike, this blow compounding the damage of the one delivered by Mace Windu. He would race out of the building and down into the tunnel system below, intent on living to fight another day. Kenobi was quick to pursue on a Boga, but though he lost his sabers, Grievous had an electro staff stored in his bike. As the Jedi scum and his organic mount neared, he struck at them with the paralyzing weapon, but again the precision and focus of this human was unmatched. Dodging the thrusts, Kenobi was able to grab the staff, avoid the tendrils of electricity at the head, eventually ripping it out of the cyborg's grasp, proceeding to beat the main wheel of the bike before landing a blow to Grievous's face. With this hit, the general was able to regain the weapon by pulling Kenobi onto the bike with him. They struggle over the staff while the vehicle was trying to stay on course. And with Kenobi focused on the melee weapon, Grievous reached for a hidden E5 blaster rifle. He nearly gets a shot into the Jedi, but Obi-Wan is able to force the staff down to launch them both off the vehicle, tumbling across the landing pad. The bike flying off the edge, the Jedi doesn't miss a beat, grabbing the staff and rushing to finish the fight. Grievous takes a shot with the blaster, but it gets knocked out of his hand. Knowing the cyborg's weak spot, the Jedi delivers a stiff blow to his chest, followed by a block strike, but then gets a powerful hit that sends the cyborg to the ground. After years of narrow escapes, his nemesis is intent on seeing this come to a close, delivering another perfect strike to his chest, trying to get at that synth sack of organs. But even without a weapon, his Duranium robotic body was a weapon of its own, and he delivers a powerful kick that knocks the human several feet into the air into a painful landing. Grievous closes the gap and denies Kenobi a chance at the staff, proves the superiority of metal over flesh. The human making futile attempts at hand-to-hand combat, before Grievous delivers another blow that sends Kenobi smashing into the Soulless One. The general was now confident that this long series of saber duels would now end with him brutally beating the Jedi to death. But this human used his agility to evade, call on all of his strength to force open the cyborg's chest plate. At the sight of his organs exposed, Grievous goes into a panic that fuels a series of blows that nearly knock Obi-Wan unconscious. And hoping to stomp the human, he laughs as Kenobi again shows the greater strength of the cyborg body. He was sure victory was seconds away, laughing as he threw the meat bag over the edge. The Jedi was pathetically holding on for dear life, and Grievous reveled in the moment. Picking up the electro staff, he calmly walked over to end the greatest Jedi general. With one blow, the Jedi would fall unconscious to his death, but Kenobi stayed focused on Grievous's only two weaknesses. Calling on the Force, he would bring a blaster to his hands, and with a single shot, he would burn a hole through his organs, a blast that sent the liquid of the synth sack ablaze. And the Jedi kept firing away at his weak spot, until all that remained of his once great Kaleesh warrior body was consumed by the flames of his own hell. The greatest warlord in the galaxy was killed by a man that was one of, if not the best, at using his connection to the supernatural to aid him in his role as a warrior. A fitting nemesis to the dream warrior once backed by shamans fighting for reverence of the Kaleesh gods. And when he became a completely physical being, powered not by a warrior spirit, but by high-tech materials, mechanics, and weaponry, he was doomed to be defeated by one with a strong connection to the Force. You can only hope that the Kaleesh gods found a way to forgive him, knowing that this path was one that Kaiman Jai Shalal had not chosen for himself, but rather one imposed on him by the Sith. What makes this end even more tragic for Grievous is that he would die just minutes before Order 66 was given, after a lifetime dedicated to killing Jedi, to seeing the temple consumed in flames. Driven to rid the galaxy of the Jedi Order, he was denied seeing this ultimate victory. When Kenobi returned to Cody, only to be betrayed during Order 66, he would make his way back to the platform, past Grievous's corpse, and take Soulless One to flee Utapau. This is the ship he would use to rendezvous on Natantive 4, and when the infamous general's body was discovered by clone troopers, it was deemed top secret and placed in one of Palpatine's hidden storehouses on Utapau. Though he was dead, his legacy would continue to shape the galaxy. The Empire created two cyborg military units based off of him, the Terror Trooper and Terror Biodroids, with the design most obvious in the faceplate, but even in the name, Terror being the general's greatest weapon. Other researchers would be inspired to create four-armed, saber-wielding cyborgs like the Mon Calamari Carbon. And later, the Empire would task cyberneticist Nikolai Keynesworth to turn the body of the old general into a deadly new droid. No longer a cyborg, the Kaleesh parts gone, he was completely a droid, but he would have been happy to know that he was no B-1 battle droid. His body was animated by the most advanced droid combat brain of the time, and around 1 ABY he would come online, fighting with a double-bladed lightsaber, which was powered by the Kyber crystal that once belonged to Darth Bane, which would have been the greatest piece in his collection. They even crafted NK-3 guards based on the IG-100. But despite these advantages, this droid reincarnation was destroyed by a band of raiding spacers. Sometime after this, the spacers must have sold off the face that struck terror into the hearts of countless billions of Republic citizens, with it selling for an enormous amount of credits on the invisible market, being purchased by none other than the ultimate student of military history and art, Grand Admiral Thrawn, the Chiss warrior respecting the tragic tale of this tortured soul, and being aware that he was still a heroic figure on his homeworld. It should also be noted that Mr. Bones contained some of Grievous's computer code for controlling his body. In circa 25 ABY, New Republic-era anthropologists discovered that Kaiman Jai Shalal, a man taught in the NR's textbooks to be one of the most vile, terroristic generals of the Confederacy, was now being revered by his people as a god. The Dreamer and Dreamt One had displayed such a martial virtue that they were certain that the gods had welcomed him into their pantheon. The spirit of Shalal would speak to all warriors who lived with righteous anger, and we can only wonder if his powers in the afterlife gave him the ability to finally find his lost soulmate, to give Kumar the peace that the gods denied her all those decades ago. If his people were right, that Shalal had become a god, a force to guide his people from the afterlife, then perhaps the experience he had in the Jedi Temple, and what he saw as living proof in Kenobi, showed him that so much was lost when he was put into that cyborg prison. Perhaps in the final moment of his life, he realized that he had been manipulated by Offworlders, taken away from his own people to fight in their foreign war. In that final moment, the fire burning away all of the alterations on his brain, allowing him to awaken to the reality that he still was the dreamed dreamer. But that's the end of the complete life of General Grievous.